What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Inside the One podcast yet again with your boy Jay Hoff and Spitz. Guys, we're
Sir.
back at it with the divisional. What are these power rankings, or just kind of like a deep dive into them? What would you say?
Yeah, just a little off-season preview.
Preview. All right, we'll stick with that. But yeah, guys, so today we're going over my favorite division in the entire NFL. That's going to be the AFC North. So, guys, if you like the sound of that, hit the like button, hit that sub button, guys. Like I said, I don't know if you've been sticking around lately, but new channel, definitely support the boys and support the individual channels. You know, we got mine, we got his, so we do Madden videos and all kinds of different gaming on those channels. So definitely support those as well. But this is definitely needs a little bit extra love. Do you want to say anything before we start, real quick?
Not really. Shout out to y'all for watching. And if you watched the whole episode, by the way, you're a goat. That's all.
If you watched the entire last episode, you said something at the very end. I don't know if they caught it, but guys, if you haven't, just you gotta watch the entire thing. He said something really funny, and just you guys probably didn't even. It's fine.
You never
anyway,
know. You never know what you're gonna hear.
You never know. We put something in at the very end just to make sure you're watching the entire thing. But yeah, guys, AFC North. We're just gonna start it off talking about the good old Cleveland Brownies, the Browns. I guess the first biggest thing that people have on their minds right now is the fact is Baker Mayfield. Is this the year that he becomes elite? When we say elite, we're talking about like on the level of like Patrick Mahomes and just big time quarterbacks. We know that Baker is good because he has the cycle of where like he'll be really good one week and then he'll get like kind of like hyped. He'll hype himself up and he'll talk to the media and say like, oh, you know what? I felt dangerous this morning. And then he'll go out into another game and he'll just bomb it. He'll suck. And then he goes into a little depression and then he repeats it over and over again. So the question is, can he be elite this coming up year?
Yeah, that just means can you not suck for any of the weeks? I mean, yeah, like.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh shit. Okay. Honestly, I think so. I think he got himself over the hump a little bit. The tail end of last season, having some playoff success. I feel like you can just build off of that. I think at some point we were talking about the Browns. I can't even remember what we were talking about. But we were talking about if Baker Mayfield can find his way into the not winning MVP, but it being in the conversation. And
Yeah.
I said he could, and I'm still gonna say that. I still believe that.
I remember there was this one game that he looked really good. I think it was against the Tennessee Titans last season. Like he was just hitting random people, I'm like, who was Peoples Jones? Like who is this guy? And then I'm just like, okay, like Baker's actually hitting people, and then for the most part, he's doing it without OBJ. So he's making these receivers that are not. Jarvis Landry's good, okay? Don't sit here and shoot me down. But I'm just saying, like, he's doing it with, like, guys that are not D-Hop, that are not Devontae Adams, that are not Michael Thomas. He's just making average receivers look good, and that's what elite quarterbacks do.
Yeah, he was he was dotting you guys up, too, in that Lamar
I think that was a Thursday night game. Yeah, where it was like 40-41. It was that was a game of the year, if you ask me.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson had to run back from his dookie to come back and save the day because Baker was throwing so many dots.
Yeah, I mean, it
was quick strike too.
That's a whole nother episode right there. I mean, I could talk about that game for a whole hour, but the fact that you know we had Trace McSorley out there holding us down for a minute, and then I think that was a crazy game. But no, the point is Baker Mayfield, he balled out that game, and that's just yet another example of can he be elite? And you know, I just think this could be the year that the Browns actually overcome the Chiefs. Maybe. I don't know.
You were talking about how he makes all the receiver no names that he was thrown to last year, and it brings up the conversation of why exactly was he and the offense better post Odell injury. Like I'm trying, like to me, like if I was trying to go inside the locker room there, I'd have to imagine that when you have a guy like Odell, you feel pressured to force a little bit potentially, trying to get him involved. I'm not going to sit here and say I watch every Browns game, so I could totally be wrong about that. But it's definitely something to note that they were like a 500 team when he was playing, and then he went down, and they just kind of took off.
Yeah, no, I think you got a point there. OBJ is constantly in your ear, like, throw me the ball, throw me the ball, throw me the ball, I'm going to be open. Like, that's definitely got to play some type of mind game on Mayfield. Like, he's probably looking there a couple times before he actually makes a throw. Instead of just finding the open receiver and throwing the ball, like, he's trying to force it to OBJ. I think you got a good point.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, like, obviously he's going to come back this season, start the season. And so it's going to be interesting what happens if they're like 3-3. You know, what do you do? Like, because I don't remember what week did he get hurt in? I'm drawing a blank.
It was early.
They were like 2-2 or 3-3 or something like that when he got hurt.
Probably like week 4 through 6.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact week.
They were a 500 average ass team. He went down and they only lost like 2 more games the rest of the year or something like that. So if he comes back and they're 3-3 again, so you're like, let's just say for argument's sake, you're 9-2 last season without Odell.
Yeah. And
you're combined 6-6 with him for the last 2 seasons. Like, you gotta start thinking, like, what do we do here? You know, somebody's gonna give you something for Odell Beckham Jr. No, I would like for it to fit, because I think that would make them super dangerous if it works out. But it's definitely something that we're gonna have to watch in the early part of the season. Like, is their offense struggling somehow with him on the field again, like we did last year?
Yeah, I mean, so we could think about it that way, but we could also think about, like, well, maybe it wasn't entirely OBJ that made them. I guess hear me out. So you got arguably the NFL's best offensive line. So you got Wills Jr., you got Joel Bitonio, you got Treader, you got Wyatt Teller, you got Jack Conklin, and then you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt back there. So it's almost creating that effect of, like, okay, we have the best line, and then you have almost like the Derrick Henry effect, where it's just like, we're going to bite down on the run game so much, and therefore the pass game is going to get open. So do we think that's the reason why they were so successful last year, or was it because it was the missing OBJ?
It could be that. It could be that they started figuring out the proper game plan on offense.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely the best way to do it. When you got Nick Chubb and Hunt out there, just feed them behind the offensive line, make the defense concerned about that, and then start throwing lasers in the second half.
Yeah.
Because you see the success that Tannehill's had, and Baker Mayfield can easily do the same thing.
So it's just the question of, I don't truly think they found their identity quite yet. Like, I think last year they adopted the run. We're going to be that physical ground and pound game, and then we're going to throw it if we have to. But I feel like this, on paper, the Browns look really good. You know, they can pass, they can run, they can do whatever they want. But it's just like last year, like, with OBJ coming back, are you a balanced? You're going to be more run, you're going to be more pass? Like, what is this team really? Because we can look at last year, and obviously I think Nick Chubb and the offensive line was a big piece. And I think Baker Mayfield actually taking advantage of the run game working so well and kind of play action. So it's just like, what does it still keep the same identity as last year, or do they incorporate OBJ into this now, or they totally disregard him? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, no, definitely something to look out for, and we'll have to see what happens. Like you said earlier, you know, anytime you're talking about a team from the AFC, the question is just like, can you beat the Chiefs or not? Like, that's the only thing anybody cares about, to be honest. Because if you can't beat the Chiefs,
it doesn't matter.
Guys, let's be honest, okay? Especially when your team is good. Y'all Browns fans, you finally got to taste the playoffs last year. So now guess what? Now it's like Super Bowl or bust situation. Like, you can't just be like, oh, we made the playoffs. Now, no, you already did that. Yeah. It was cool last year to make the playoffs, and that's it. Like, if the Browns would have lost in the first round, we still would have been like, wow, Browns, good job. You made it to the playoffs finally. Like, that's good stuff.
Now, can you beat that?
Now you got to go higher. And, well, the team that knocked you out was the Chiefs. So, therefore, that's the goal. And, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, they can beat the Chiefs. They just have to do it. Yeah. Last year, like, I understand Mahomes got hurt. and it was a little bit of you can't really grade it too much in the second half of that game.
Yeah.
But I want to make something very clear. My man, I think it was Higgins, fumbles the ball out the back of the end zone at the 1 yard line. If that doesn't happen, we're looking at a super close game going into halftime. Instead, the Chiefs get the ball back, they go down and score again, and it gets a little bit ugly in the first half. But the 2 inches away from the goal line that he was when he fumbled the ball changed the whole game.
Yeah, they should make a rule. Just because you said that.
I agree. I agree with that. I thought the same thing when it happened too. I thought that's the dumbest rule in the world, that it goes to the other team if it fumbles out the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
So stupid. Because that deters you from like trying to score there. Like you would just, okay, I'm just going to go out of bounds now.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid of fumbling and going out of bounds and getting the ball back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of people on Twitter that, even people that don't like the Browns, they were like, that rule is stupid. Because if that happens to your team, you're pissed too. Like, that's some ass. You go 99 yards down the field, and they didn't recover the fumble. They didn't recover shit. It just went out of bounds in the end zone. You get penalized. Come on, bro. I disagree with that. Maybe you could get like a yardage penalty, like a 10 or 15 yard penalty back up a little bit, but you should not lose possession.
They don't know where to put the ball if it came out the end zone. I would just say okay, where were you? Where was the line of scrimmage? And maybe back up 5 yards. Like penalize.
Yeah, 5 or 10 yards. You give
but don't straight up give it to the other team.
Yeah, that's tragic. That's tragic. I've always thought that. Anytime I see that happen in the game, I'm just like, that is the dumbest thing in the world. Yeah. I don't know who came up with that idea.
Now, real quick, I know we're talking about the possibility of the Browns beating the Chiefs, and I'm sure that makes a lot of you Browns fans like go nuts. But I mean, it's even more possible because of the draft that you just guys had. Greg Newsome and Jock. And I can't believe that shit. Can probably sit here and talk about Jock for 15 minutes, getting passed up on.
I'm fuming.
But does these two pieces now give you the perfect formula to go ahead and beat the Chiefs?
Yes. So also because don't forget they added John Johnson III, who PFF has as like the second best safety in the league.
Yep.
And we're not going to talk about the PFF rankings because those are ass cheeks, but I'm not going to sit here and act like John Johnson isn't one of the best safeties in the league. So that was a huge addition. Grant Delpit was hurt all season. He's coming back.
Yep.
You got Greg Newsome. You still have Denzel.
Denzel Ward. Yeah.
Yep. And then you have Myles Garrett. You add Jadeveon Clowney. Like the list goes on. And then
so good on paper.
You get Owusu Koramoah, who was a top 15 prospect at 52. Are you dumb? They had an insane offseason on defense. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's definitely...
And that was their weakest point. They gave up a lot of points last year.
Yeah, exactly.
In big games. So
it's definitely an intimidating team as a Ravens fan. I would never thought in my entire life I would ever say I'm scared of the Browns.
Yeah, like JOK, he fell in the draft because apparently he had some there was something with his heart thing. Yeah. If that heart issue never comes to fruition... I mean, you guys had 2 first-round picks, basically.
I mean, look at Montez Sweat. He also had a heart problem, and then now he's balling in Washington. So it's just
heart problems do affect you, but a lot of the time they just never come up. So
just take care of yourself.
If you watch his film, and then think to yourself that you picked him at 52, bro. Oh my gosh! Still. And they traded up too. They were like, honestly, he probably would have fell to you at 54 or wherever you were at. But they traded up to get that. They were like, no, sir. Yeah. A lot of teams are going to regret that. But like I said, when you have a heart issue, I can understand that you're a little bit like, damn, there's a chance that he could never play ever. So I get it. You watch what happened with that fucking that soccer player the other day in Denmark where he actually died on the field for like 3 minutes and they had to resuscitate him on the field. Damn. Like that kind of stuff, you obviously have to pay. You hear heart issue, you got to pay attention to it. But
well, to be fair, I think soccer is way more cardiovascular exercise. Like you're just literally running back and forth on the field for I don't know how long. Where
isn't that fascinating?
They at least take a break. Defense and offense, you sit on the bench.
Isn't that fascinating that you can be like you're playing a sport that keeps you in the best possible cardiovascular shape in the world, and you still have a heart attack?
Yep.
People want to see it. Like, stop telling the fat guys to eat McDonald's because you can have a heart attack for no reason, bro. I swear to God, there is no science.
True.
Behind this stuff, man. It's all universe. Anyways. Yeah.
Let's talk about your boy real quick, though.
Yes. Nick Chubb's my favorite running back in the NFL besides Kamara, bro. I swear to God.
So I guess the question for me is he a top 5 running back? Like, can I go into fantasy next year and feel comfortable taking him as, like, my starting running back? Obviously,
it's
yes,
fantasy.
obviously, yes, right?
Fantasy
Well,
a little
okay,
bit
let me back that up.
different
What
because of
if,
the
like, I'm playing
passing.
fantasy, Saquon's taken, Kamara's taken, Christian McCaffrey's taken?
First of
Like,
all, Nick Chubb is better than Saquon. You got AK and Christian McCaffrey probably if you're talking about fantasy because they catch so many passes, you got AK and Christian McCaffrey first,
yeah, of course.
and then Derrick Henry, of course. He's the
I'm just
best
saying,
like
like,
power
is Nick
runner.
Chubb number 5? Even in fantasy or in NFL, just is he a top 5 running back?
Yeah, I'm trying to run it through in my head right now, real quick. Who else is up there?
And no jokes, Lamar Jackson, no jokes. Come on, for real though, Nick Chubb, I
You got
arguably could say top 5.
yeah. So right off the top of my head, you got Derrick Henry. Then you got Kamara and Christian McCaffrey together, and then like who else? Who else would be ahead of Chubb? Honestly,
I mean, I'm trying to run through the league in my head, all 32 teams. It's
me
crazy.
too.
But I mean, nothing's coming to my head
He's
immediately.
probably four. Nick Chubb to me. I listen. People are gonna be like, "Well, he has the best offensive line." Well, so what? Good for him.
Yeah.
To me, he's like in terms of pure running back, he's second behind Derrick Henry, and that was proven last season when he came in second in rushing yards. Like Christian McCaffrey and Kamara do a lot of other shit that make them elite also.
Okay,
But in
here we
terms of
go.
just downhill running, yeah,
Let me
go
throw a
ahead.
wrench in. Let me throw a wrench in real quick. All right, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones,
No,
Ezekiel Elliott.
nope,
Do you put Nick Chubb above those guys?
absolutely. The only one that's relatively relevant there is Dalvin Cook, but I would have Chubb at 4 and Dalvin at 5.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott last season, he got to prove something to me because he fell off a cliff last season. I don't know if it was his health or what was going on, but he got to get it together.
And then you got Aaron Jones from.
You got Aaron Jones.
That's about
Like
it, though.
Aaron Jones is good, but he's not Nick Chubb though.
I think he's just a product of Aaron Rodgers. Like they're biting
Yeah,
on
I
the
think
pass
Aaron
so
Jones-
hard.
With all due respect, I think Aaron Jones stayed in Green Bay for a reason, bro.
Yeah.
I think he knows that's where he's going to make his bread at. He would have got paid elsewhere. Don't get me wrong. He had
For
bigger
sure.
offers elsewhere, but I'm just saying Green Bay makes him look good. I'm not sure if he was like the main focal point of the offense. Like if he went to, I don't know who's got a shit. If he went to the Eagles,
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure if he would be as good, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean that's just a question in itself. Like, is
Nick Chubb is good everywhere.
It doesn't matter like what makes him like we can always sit here and argue like is it the line or is it the running back that makes the running back, I guess. But I mean we can sit here and argue that like sure the Browns have a top end offensive line and that's what makes Nick Chubb so good. Like we don't know. The fact of the matter is can
You say
he
the same
have
thing.
top 5 rushing yards, rushing touchdowns this year?
You would just say the same thing about Zeke anyways. If that was the argument, you'd be like, well, Zeke was only good because he had the offensive line too. So you obviously have to have an offensive line to run. Like that doesn't even make sense when people say that.
Yeah.
No, name a running, like I'm sure that people will have examples in the comment section, but like I suppose one example would be Chris McCaffrey. Their offensive line is not the best.
Yeah.
But the Saints have one of the best offensive lines out there. The Titans have a really good offensive line.
Yeah.
Vikings not bad. Obviously the Browns are goated. God
Packers,
tier.
Always
Packers
good.
are until now.
Until they give up people like
Until now.
yeah.
The last 5 years though, yeah, the Packers. So yeah, that's not really an excuse, but you have to have a good offensive line.
You can't have
to be a
one without the
successful
other,
running
I
back.
think. Right.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Like you look at the Ravens run the ball so much, right? But they don't have like the greatest interior offensive line ever.
Let's just segue. The Ravens, right?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, we're about to go right into it. So the question is, are they still going to be one-dimensional? Are they still? Because if you look at the stats, they were first in rushing yards, third in rushing touchdowns, but dead last in pass yards, pass attempts, pass completions. So, I mean, we were just talking about it like 5 seconds ago, their offensive line. So you have Ronnie Stanley, you had Orlando Brown Jr., and you had a couple of like so-so guys in the middle. Now you replace Orlando Brown Jr. with Villanueva, and then now they're starting a rookie who looks like a beast, Ben Cleveland. I'm starting to love this kid. Huge. Are they going to still be one-dimensional, or are they going to actually use these receiving weapons that they took? They didn't take they spent the entire offseason trying to get and upgrade it. They went after Juju, they went after T.Y. Hilton. We took a stab at Julio, but we came away with Sammy Watkins, Rashad Bateman, and Hollywood.
Oh no.
So
That's depressing.
what is going to happen? Are we going to make use of Rashad Bateman and Sammy? And we already had Hollywood and Mark Andrews, obviously, but I feel like I'll speak on it for a second here. I don't think we're going to be as one-dimensional. Yes, we're still going to run first. That is who we are. The Lamar, I'm a running back. But I think I feel like we're going to come closer to what we were in 2019 than 2020. I think we're going to have better passing numbers. It's not going to be a 2019 season because that those numbers were absurd. But I think we are going to pass a little bit more, just not as much as I'd like.
Yeah.
And I just think that's mainly because of the chemistry the lack thereof. Like, we just got Sammy, we just got Rashad. So.
Yeah, it's Sammy, it's Sammy Watkins. You know what I'm saying? Like, Sammy Watkins hasn't shown anything. One. That's your number one. Like, Rashad Bateman's going to be the number one in about 3 weeks. I can almost guarantee you that.
Yeah. Well, if we're really playing, Hollywood is number one if you look at the depth chart.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's that's not good.
That's not how. He's the number one on the depth chart, but we all know what number one means. That Hollywood's the deep threat. It doesn't necessarily make you the number one. He doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
He has to have a big season because honestly, like, if you there's a possibility that one of the reasons why they pass so little is because they don't trust the guys to catch the football.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sammy Watkins pretty sure-handed. Rashad Bateman's extremely sure-handed, at least in college.
Yeah.
And then you have Mark Andrews, of course, who's like a god-tier tight end right now. But Hollywood's the question mark. I don't know if I am a fan. I gotta be honest. I think it's still gonna be pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah, I'm saying, I'm trying my very hardest. I promise you guys, I'm not trying to be biased here, but I think that Hollywood is yet another bust. We have been literally strikeout year after year when we draft receivers. Like, I was talking about this in my Discord. I think, honestly, our best receiver that was ever drafted, arguably, was maybe Torrey Smith. We always usually get our good receivers through free agency,
when they're old and washed up.
And they're all veterans that we can get at a budget. So Steve Smith, Anquan Bolden.
Surprised you guys didn't sign Larry. Surprised you guys haven't signed Larry Fitzgerald
or
yet.
AJ Green, or there's a bunch of names that could have happened, but they don't want to block, which I don't blame them. So the question is, we try to use money. I was like, okay, well, I think the budget for a receiver this past year was $15 million. I think we threw Juju, I think around 12 to 15, if I'm not mistaken, with what's the word? Incentives. And obviously, he's not going to reach those incentives because we run the ball too much. So.
Finesse him.
So, with that said, yes, I think you're right. I think we still stay more. I think we're like, if we're going to put percentages on this, I think we're going to have like maybe 75% run, 25% pass.
Yeah. And the other reason for that is, I'm going to skip one of the bullet points. We'll go back to it. But Greg Roman, that's on him, right? Like, he's the one making the decisions down there. If you still have the run-heavy offensive coordinator, the odds are going to be very high that you're still going to be run-heavy.
Yeah. No, I've had a lot of discussions talking about Greg Roman in the past, talking about he doesn't know how to come up with good routes, and that's why the receivers can't get open. And we don't know if that's true because we don't have receivers that can actually run the routes.
That's true, but I feel like you have good route running now, though. Like, if Sammy Watkins is good at anything, he is decent at route running, and then Bateman's a good route runner also.
Right.
So I feel like, he's not going to have an excuse to not be balanced on offense this year, to be honest with you. Like, if you guys are dead last in passing again, you got to go, bro. Get out of here. It's 2021, my guy.
Honestly, here's my thing.
You got to have 5,000 passing yards to win a Super Bowl these days. You can't be out here doing this.
My thing is, like, okay, I don't expect Greg Roman to be someone like, I don't know, Eric Bieniemy, like running like Tyreek routes.
Right.
However, like I do expect my receivers to get open if he does call a passing play, and like it just they're very basic route combinations,
Yeah.
and it's just like, man, like obviously I'll take Eric Bieniemy any day of the week if we're calling him. But it's just it's I don't know. I mean, I obviously give him another shot, give him the season, see what he does with these new weapons. Maybe another, and then if we can get like, I'll give him 2 seasons max. That's me being super nice. Let him have this season. Okay, we improved because obviously anything from last is an improvement, right? And then maybe next off season we see what's available in the free agency, and we get a big time receiver. If he still fails, then yeah, get rid of him.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like Greg Roman is like the little 10-year-old weirdos that play Madden that just call run spam and then quick slants.
Yep.
I feel like that's his playbook. He's like, oh shit, it's 3rd and 8, we got to pass, quick slants.
Tight end drag.
tight end drags.
Whatever, something. Yeah, it's very basic stuff.
Hollywood just running a straight line. Hollywood, maybe you'll get open. We'll see what happens.
Now, going back to a previous point that we were going to talk about, so I feel like now even more so, there's more pressure on the offense to work because I believe the defense possibly could have taken a step back because we lost Judon, we lost Unique Ngakwe, we drafted away, which is cool, but the thing that worries me about him is that I don't think he got a single sack last season at Penn State.
Dang.
Like I think there was like a 7 or 8 game stretch where he didn't get a single sack, so I don't know if his ability to get pressure is really there. He's known for being fast. He's a speed pass rusher. But I don't know. I mean, that's what Unique was. Unique was that finesse, speedy pass rusher. Can Away fill it, but I mean, there's still a gap there. Like we didn't fill in both gaps. So now you have Calais, Away, Derek Wolfe, and then you have Brandon Williams on the inside, and then you have I think we let Bowser. So there's a couple of guys that. Can they still be a top 5 defensive front? That's the question. So is it like if it did take a step back, can the offense take a step forward? And like something like if one side of the ball is weak, you gotta make it up with the other side. Just like the Saints, like you said, the offense was getting weak, so you gotta pick it up on defense. It might be the flip for the Ravens. That's what I'm saying.
This is interesting that they like stacked the defensive line last offseason.
To stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and then they just like reversed it again. I'm confused by that because like in case they didn't notice, like Derrick Henry and the Titans aren't going anywhere. In fact, they got better. So
it's already been proven that you can stop Derrick Henry with that. So why fix what's not broken?
Why go back to what didn't stop Derrick Henry the previous season? Don't understand that one. But hey, money talks. What's funny though is they cut all those guys to save cap space and then did exactly what? With the money they saved, I mean, they brought in guys. They just signed Jawan James. He can't even play until next year.
Yeah.
No, he's not taking up any money in this cap season.
Yeah,
but
we
still,
signed him
just
for
like,
$500,000, and then I think as soon as he comes back next year, he's going to get whatever he was guaranteed. I don't know.
Yeah, which is like $9 million. Like holy shit.
Yeah, $10 million. That's what it was.
Like that's just.
I think what's happening.
They obviously showed an effort at wide receiver, but
right.
I don't know. There's still. It's got to be something out there you can spend.
Villanueva is either a temporary replacement until Jawan can get starting, or we might move Villanueva to the inside. I don't know. Whatever. And Eric, I trust, but I think the main question is here with this team is I know Lamar is tired of hearing about it. Can we overcome the playoffs? Yes, we took a step forward. Like we went to the divisional round this year and lost. I mean, we lost in the divisional round when we were 14-2, but they rested the starters that week 17. So now they learn the lesson. It's like, okay, practice over resting or something like that. I don't think resting your starters is a good idea every time. I guess the question is, can you overcome the divisional round?
Yeah, that's definitely the question. I mean, I guess as long as you don't play the Titans again. No, but yeah, it just depends on. It's all matchup based. I mean, ultimately, you're gonna have to beat the Chiefs at some point.
Yeah.
The Chiefs, the Titans, than the Bills. You got to beat those teams. So
Yeah.
the Bills, the one-dimensional shit is not going to work against the Bills. We just
No,
watched that.
it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't
Really
work
didn't.
at all. Not even close.
No, I
So
think
yeah, I
that
don't know.
game was more of like panic mode. Greg Roman trying to call up passing plays that he hasn't called all season, and
Yeah.
obviously, Lamar's
That
getting
was rough.
frustrated trying to force shit. But and then the center was garbage. Hiked it 20 miles over his head. Got concussed
Yeah,
in the
dude.
whatever. Can we beat these? Because if you haven't learned already, in the AFC, there's always going to be that team to beat. Like before, it was Peyton Manning and the Colts, Tom Brady and the Patriots. Okay, they're gone. Okay, now we have Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and then we got Josh Allen and the Bills.
Yeah.
It's always going to be that hurdle, that obstacle. The Ravens are always going to be seen as the underdog in those cases. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't see. Because come playoff time, against either of those teams, you guys are going to be on the road.
Yep.
And I don't see it. I don't, personally.
To be honest with you as well.
Especially the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, if we were going to do it at any year, it should have been in 2019 when we had that first seed
Yes.
and divisional round. That's when it should have happened.
Yeah, I agree.
That was the biggest window. There's nothing like
I
that
agree.
first bye break, bro,
Yeah,
but,
Derrick Henry came in there and shut that down.
and made me cry for a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the Ravens. Let's move on.
Move on
Before
to the Ravens' best friends over there in Pittsburgh.
Steelers. Again, before I go into
everybody's-
this, I'm not going to be biased. I wasn't biased on my team.
Everybody's favorite team, I swear to God.
Yeah, no one likes the Steelers.
Unless you're a Steelers fan, yeah. That's
So-
weird. But y'all do it to yourself, man. Y'all be weird on Twitter and social media. Y'all just be really... Y'all got too many trolls in your fan base, man. Every single tweet that comes out about anybody, the first reply in the top is a Steelers fan saying some dumb shit.
No.
That's
yeah.
why people don't like you guys. It's nothing to do. It's got very little to do with the plays on the field, unless you're like a Bengals fan or maybe a Ravens fan. But in general, like the general football population just hates the weirdos that you guys have in your fan base. I just want to point that out.
It's either you got trolls, weirdos, and then you have like your egotistical guys that just think that,
That
Super
Big Ben's
Bowl
the
wins.
greatest quarterback of all time
like,
and
hey,
stuff like
we
that.
got the
I'm
Super
like,
Bowl
oh my God.
wins, and like, talk to me when you get however many rings. I'm like, well, most likely you weren't even born for the first 5 or
Oh,
whatever
yeah,
you guys have.
We got to segue real quick before we talk about the Steelers. I had this conversation today in one of my Discords, bro. We need to talk about this on the podcast since people watch this shit. We, as a society, got to stop talking about what our teams did when we were fucking not even born, bro. Like, so somebody was talking about they were talking about the Saints and how bad their all-time record is.
Yep.
And, like, what do I care if the Falcons beat us every time we played in 1977, bro? Like, what does that have to do with me, bro?
Yeah.
Like, since I've been alive, understanding how football works and watching the sport, which was 2005, 2006, so like 15 years now. Anything that happened before that, like, that's great, and I love history stuff, and that's cool.
Sure. Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt my feelings that we sucked in 1977. Like,
This
I don't
sport
give a
is a
shit.
what have you done for me lately sport.
Yeah. And like the Steelers
You're
have
only
been
as good
good
as your
lately.
last game.
Yeah, the Steelers have been good lately, so there's no reason to be riding on your past championships. Like, you guys were just in the Super Bowl in this decade. You were 11-0 at some point last season. Like, you don't have to keep riding those championships from the 70s and 80s like it means something to you, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
The Patriots, on the other hand, all those motherfuckers have been alive. They all, like, that shit is so recent, and it all happened in such a quick span of time, like within 15 years.
Yeah.
So pretty much every Patriots fan on earth has the right to brag about all their championships, whereas us, we can't say anything. If you won a championship in 1950, your dad didn't even see that, bro. Like, don't get the fuck out of here. Like, come on, bro.
No, yeah.
Just wanted to throw that out there because that is so annoying. Like, oh, well, we're the best franchise of all time. I don't care. I don't care.
And
Who's the
just-
best
I mean,
franchise?
if that's your
I
number
want to
one
know who the
point-
best franchise is in 2021. That's all I care about.
And
I don't even care about the Saints Super Bowl in 2009. That was 12 years ago. I'm done with that. I want a new one. I want
Facts.
more.
just
Fuck
to piggyback
2009.
off of that, like, when that's your leading statement is like, okay, well, we got Super Bowls, like, that just kind of, it just puts a bandwagon sticker right on your forehead, bro. Like, if you're just there because of the history of the Super Bowl wins,
Yeah,
that's
that's
just,
true.
it doesn't mean, honestly, I don't respect you as a football fan because like unless you sit here and tell me about the history, or I don't know, just give me something that I know you're not just there because of the history.
Yeah, tell me about the season the Steelers went 4-12 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like there's, casuals, bro. Like, what do y'all know about Aaron Brooks throwing the ball backwards against the Chargers for a touchdown fumble? What do y'all know about that in 2004? He got sacked. My man Aaron Brooks, this is why people always like, oh, you might be a bandwagon because you only started watching the Saints when they got Drew. I didn't know who Drew Brees was, man. I went to the Saints because they drafted Reggie Bush, bro. I knew nothing about the NFL. All I knew about the Saints was I was watching the game with my friends, and Aaron Brooks is getting sacked against the Chargers. And he spins around and literally throws the ball backwards into the Chargers end zone, and they go land on it for 7. Yeah. That's the team that I chose to cheer for, just because they drafted Reggie Bush. So when people call me a bandwagon, I want to smack some hoes. I swear to God.
Yeah.
And not a single person on earth bandwagon the Saints before like 2009. If you were a Saints fan before 2009, it's impossible, quite literally impossible to be a bandwagon.
And then even if I will let some of the bandwagoners slide, because if you actually do your homework and actually study and research a team because of the passion of a new passion,
that's true. But as long as you don't flip when they suck, that's the problem. That's
the problem. If you're there during the sucky years, then fine.
If you never watched, for example, if you never watched football really before, and you watch the Bucs this year, and you're like, wow, Tom Brady, oh wow, he has how many rings? Wow, that's great. Yeah, that's fine. But you gotta stay with the Bucs when Tom Brady gone though. Otherwise, you're just
stay with the Bucs when that's what I'm saying, when Tom Brady leaves or whatever.
Like, don't claim to be, because if you're one of those, there's people in the NBA, perfect example, basketball. They'll be like, oh, I love the Cavs, man, they're so good, LeBron, yeah, oh, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, go Heat, man, LeBron, yeah, oh, and then they'll be like, oh, the Lakers are the best franchise ever, yeah, LeBron, huh? Like, no, bro, you're a LeBron fan. Just stop acting like you're a fan of the franchise. You're not.
Yeah.
You like LeBron, and that's okay. You can be a fan of the player. That's totally cool, but don't act like you're a diehard fan of the team.
Yeah.
When you're not, bro. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. For example, all the new Bucs fans, fuck off. You're Tom Brady fans. It's as simple as that.
Well, now that we're talking about quarterbacks that are old, Big Ben.
Oh, jeez.
Is this his last season? I think that's honestly the biggest question on every Pittsburgh Steeler fan mind right now. Is because every single quarterback in the AFC North, I'm pretty sure is 23 or younger.
That's true. Yeah, it's weird.
So, and then if he does retire next year, who's going to Mason Rudolph?
Dwayne Haskins.
So, I mean, I'm just trying to.
Steelers fans like Mason Rudolph, though. They really do.
I mean, I guess.
He had a couple decent games when he was replacing Ben, but I mean, listen, guys, there was some points last season where it was just people want to laugh at Drew Brees' noodle arm when he was had all these injuries and stuff. It's the same thing.
But then on the flip side of that, he was actually dotting people up. There was so many drops from the receivers that I noticed. He was dotting people, but there was still it was still noodle arm dots. They were number 1 in pass attempts and completions, right? But they were 15th in pass yards. So it was just a bunch of dink and dunk. Now that could be because he didn't trust his receivers, but it could also be because he didn't trust his arm. You never know. Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of Steelers games where I remember I remember the one game against the Ravens where, he was throwing directly at Clark's face and he still got it completed. I'm just all right, this guy still has it and he's literally old as dirt. And it annoys me because, that should have been a pick, whatever. But then there's other games where, he's having rookies break out.
Yeah. He had obviously they were forced to pass the whole game, but he did have guys almost 600 passing yards in the Browns playoff game. Yeah, you don't just do that. That's just something that you just wake up and do. Your team is down by 30 points and you're in a position where you have to pass. And not only that, but the other team knows you have to pass and you still throw for all these yards and touchdowns.
Hold on. So let's just remember what happened in that game real quick. So the Browns went up like I'm pretty sure like 30. What was that score like in
It
the
was
first
28
quarter,
to
first
zip,
half?
28-0, yeah.
So the Browns' game plan after all those points were scored was we're gonna blank we're just kind of give you we're gonna give you cushion on defense. We're gonna back
Yeah.
up like maybe 10 or 15 yards. So obviously Big Ben is gonna make those easy completions and
Yeah,
looks like he had a lot of yards and
but
touchdowns.
if everything is underneath though, you know, it wasn't like that. They was throwing some pretty decent
Yeah, there
amount
were
of
some
chunks
good
on him.
pass. Yeah, sure. I'm just saying
But
it did
like
happen. Like they were giving cushion and he was hitting
they
them
were.
underneath quite a bit.
They were, and because of that cushion they were giving them, they almost choked the game. They had a
Yeah.
7 point lead at one
Yeah.
point. So it's
And they just
like
let it happen. And there was like, well,
big
when are you gonna actually press
yeah.
a little bit? When are you gonna come forward a little bit and actually play
They
defense?
they let Big Ben get into a zone. And like at the end of the day, guys, like Big Ben is with this generation of guys, Brady, Rogers, Breeze, Manning,
Yeah.
whatever, like he's in that top 5 of this era. And so you can't let him get into his own like that just because. And even at the beginning of the game, like you gotta look at we talk about the receivers. The two, I think he threw 3 picks in the first quarter. 2 of them were tipped by his receiver, bro. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
even his fault.
Yeah.
He got screwed over by his receivers a lot
It's true.
last
I
season.
mean, if we're
The
talking
Ravens
about
game,
yeah.
the COVID game.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've never seen worse wide receiver play in my entire life ever than I
I
saw in
don't
that
even
game
talk
where they
about that
almost
game,
lost.
bro. Don't even
Yeah.
talk about that game.
Like they almost lost to the Ravens practice squad because the receivers couldn't catch literally anything. It was
And they were playing some
unbelievable.
dirty stuff. Like they held us down on hour one. We couldn't even get up to even call another play. I forgot. It was like right before half, and they held us down on the goal line. We couldn't even get up. I don't know. That pissed me off. They had to play a little. They had to play dirty. But no, if we're talking about the Browns game real quick, I just know
Yeah.
that Big Ben, like he can throw, and I guess the game plan was okay, the Browns are just going to keep scoring, so obviously the defense can be a little lax. But when the Steelers defense was kind of figuring it out, that kind of allowed Big Ben to kind of come back, and it ended up being a game towards the end. But no, I get it. Big Ben isn't quite washed just yet.
Yeah.
So the question, I'm just saying, like, is this his last season though?
Probably. Probably.
I mean, from the draft class,
This is
who's
his last
left?
contract. This is his
Like
last contract
he was drafted
here.
with Eli, I believe, and Drew.
Yeah, there
Was
was a
that the
couple.
draft
There was
class?
they were. I don't think they were all. They weren't all in the same year, but it was kind of around that that time frame. Yeah.
So yeah. But I mean, no. Let's go to the receivers real quick. So, we were talking about the drops against the practice squad. Now, should we acknowledge the fact that this is obviously everything. This is everybody's favorite topic to talk about when it comes to the Steelers. But do they have ego problems? The TikTok, the dancing on the logos, just trying to set up. I mean, I get what they're. I've heard Juju talk about it on a level that I'm trying to understand where he's coming from. Where he's saying I'm trying to make like a backup plan, like I'm trying to just in case football is ends for me for some reason, I want to have a social media platform where I can also create a living. And I get that. I get where you're coming from like a human standpoint. I get it. But is that more important than what you're doing right now? No.
No.
I feel like you're putting way too much attention into this stuff. And I obviously, I've heard him talking about dancing on the logos as well, and he thinks it's just fun and games, and but people really get pissed off about that. We saw that point blank versus the Bengals. They took that to heart. And
Oh yes.
so
Yes, they did. He almost died.
So, is there a ego problem with the receivers, or is it more of a question about Mike Tomlin kind of losing the locker room and there's like a disciplinary problem? What is it?
Could be the discipline. I just think that it was. I think they're out of that now. I think they got out of that real quick with their losing streak at the end of the season and getting knocked out by the Browns. I'm not sure we're going to see dancing on logos anymore. That was like a growing up experience for them, I think, because that's just unacceptable. You come out dance on the Bengals and then proceed to get shit on by Ryan Finley and the Bengals, bro. Like, golly. And then it just the downward slide continued.
Yeah.
They lost to Washington in that stretch. They lost to all these. They got 28-0 in the first quarter of the playoffs by the Browns, bro. Like, oh my God. The Browns is the Browns. Well, they 28-0'd you in the first quarter, bro.
Yeah, so, the Browns is the Browns, or they're just gonna get clapped anyway. Like it's not just
the Browns
Claypool too. Like it's rubbing off on the rookie.
The Browns is in the second round while you're on the couch. That's where they are. So it's like, yeah. Claypool's cool too. They're infecting his mind, man. Claypool's a nice guy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is it? Like, I'm pretty sure Claypool didn't walk up into the Steelers locker room on day one and was just talking like this.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So anyway, let's get away from the receivers. Let's talk about their running game. Najee Harris, is obviously what were they ranked in running last year?
Dead ass last in every single thing.
Okay. So the question, obviously, honestly, it might be a bigger question than whether Big Ben stays or whatever. Will Najee Harris be, is he going to help the running game?
I hope so.
I mean, you got to say yes, right? Like, obviously, you spent your first-round pick on the guy, and then you are last. So, obviously, anything from last is an improvement.
Yeah, they literally can't be worse, like, at all.
Yeah. But then, let's talk about, okay, so they got Najee Harris. Cool. That's great. But now we're thinking about missing pieces. Like, can he be good without Pouncey? Can he be good without Villanueva? And this is on both sides of the ball. It's not just offense. They lost offensive line pieces and they lost defensive pieces. You got Bud Dupree's gone, Mike Hilton gone, Steven Nelson's gone. So, where is this? What direction is this team headed? Sure, you spent your first round pick on Najee Harris to help out the running game, and Big Ben still apparently is doing his thing with the TikTok boys. But where are they going to land in this division is my question, I guess.
Oh, God. It's hard to say because this division is hard, man.
Or will they be competitive? Like, it's almost...
They'll be competitive, yeah. But the problem is they have, the hardest schedule in the NFL.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the next point. Like, was last season a fluke? They were, 12-0 at some point. I forgot the exact number until you guys lost to the Washington football team. I'll never forget that. But because I laughed for an entire day. But no, seriously though, like this year, you can kind of put all those haters to sleep. I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Steelers have the hardest schedule coming into 2021. And if you're going to shut the haters up, this is going to be the year. And like I said, it's going to be hard to do that, because you have all these off-season losses. And then, Big Ben's getting older. Najee Harris, cool, great. But, again, the offensive pieces are gone. Villanueva, Pouncey, and then you got the, it's so hard to rate this team because, they look good. Obviously, the record looked good last year.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the haters, you're only 11-0 because you played bums. And it's true. So... Well, we don't know if it's true. That's what a good team's
supposed to do, though.
You're supposed to go 11-0.
Beat bums.
Exactly. So you can't. But now that you're not playing bums, they don't have that excuse anymore. So now you got a chance to really, if y'all are 11-0 this year, holy shit. You know what I mean? Nobody can talk to you if you're 11-0 this season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like the Steelers. I feel like if I'm thinking about the Steelers, right, Big Ben's getting older, you want to get him one more chip, one more ring before he's on his way out. So you kind of want to load up this roster as much as possible, kind of like they did for Breeze, and kind of almost say, screw the cap, we'll figure it out later, let's get Ben one more. Mm-hmm. But it's almost like, okay, well, they're taking a lot of losses, and, it's almost like they're I don't know, I just this team confuses me.
It's weird. They had a weird
offseason. Do they want it or not?
They had a very, very strange offseason.
We'll leave it at that. Then that brings us to the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Bengals.
And
Bengals.
There's one question on everyone's mind when we think about this team. Is Joe Burrow going to come back and win the Comeback Player of the Year award and much more? Is he going to carry this team? Are they going to be competitive? Are they going to still be a bottom team or what?
I think so. I mean, I think he's my favorite for Comeback Player of the Year just because of the way the team is constructed.
Sure.
They just got him even more weapons. His literal fucking best friend is this new wide receiver. So it's they built the team for him to succeed through the air.
Creating the LSU championship team.
Basically, honestly, dude. So yeah, he's the guy that I have my eye on for Comeback Player of the Year. I mean, there's 17 games now, guys. He could easily throw for 5,000 yards this season. Yeah. He was on pace for like 4,500 last year, so it's not even crazy me saying that.
Yeah, it's just, I guess the next question for this team is, okay, now there was always the question of like, okay, the reason why Joe Burrow got hurt is because of that offensive line. Now, did they improve it enough? Because obviously we saw what they did in the draft. They picked Chase over Penei. So is that offensive line improved enough? And
I think it is. I think it's good enough. Like it's not.
I mean, I like
garbage.
Riley Reef.
Like
I like that.
Is Riley Reef a generational talent? No, but he's better than what they had.
Yeah.
Right. They have they drafted Jackson Carman. He's better than what they have at guard right now. Yeah. Like everything they got is better than what they had. So.
Yeah, I know, obviously. You have a lot of Bengals fans in Discord, and Jackson Carman wasn't on anyone's mind. Like when they were all thinking about like, okay, we're going to do this and this and this. They had every single draft pick lined up, predicted, ready to go. Not a single person had Jackson Carman on their list.
Well, the reason for that is because he was listed at tackle. Nobody unless you did a lot of research, you didn't know that he could play guard. So it's kind of like, why did we just draft another tackle?
Right.
But you do your research and realize that he's perfectly capable of playing guard. Then it changes your mindset. Like, oh, damn, okay, now it makes sense now. They're trying to replace the bum-ass fucking left guard that injured Joe Burrow in the first place.
Let me back up then. Do you think Jackson Carman was a reach? Because obviously there were other names that were still on the board that were more, I guess, prospected higher than Jackson Carman.
I mean, it could have been a reach, but, after the first round of the draft, it seems like you could reach at any point. Anything could be a reach. Yeah. You draft way more based on your team need after the first round. So
it's true.
If you reach, you reach. Who cares really at that point in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I guess as long as you're doing the basic concept of filling a need and not just getting a player that you don't need. Like, if you got another wide receiver after picking Chase, like, that's a problem. But, I mean, yeah, they fulfilled the need, and that's, the basic concept of what you're supposed to do in a draft. So, I get it.
Yeah, true.
Now, I guess the next question is, okay, obviously they decided not to pay Carl Lawson. And he went to the Jets, I believe.
Yes, the Jets. Yeah.
Okay, Jets. And they signed a guy that did really well last year, Trey Hendrickson.
Yes, sir.
I mean, he was a backup. And the question is he a one-time hit? Is he a one-hit wonder? Is he a bust? Because you're pretty much paying this kid based on what he did last year. And I kind of already made the point earlier in the podcast, like, you're only as good as your last game. What have you done for me lately? And that's what this game is. So, Did they make a mistake by paying Trey Hendrickson as much as they could have paid Carl Lawson that was already on the team and already proven himself?
Yeah. That's a good point. They paid him the same amount, let him walk. I don't know. But Trey Hendrickson was a stud last year. So I obviously am going to pull for him, but I have no clue if he can do that without Cam Jordan on the other side. But hey, they drafted Joseph Asai, so you never know really. Yeah,
no, that was a good pick. I did like that.
Yeah. But it's boom or bust is very strong with that free agency decision because Carl Lawson, you already knew what you had.
And you paid him the same.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, I mean, And then we talk about the secondary. So we move from the defensive line to the secondary. So, okay, you got rid of William Jackson III and Alexander, replaced him with Chidobe Awuzie and Mike Hilton. And then Trey Waynes is coming back. So was that a good swap of corners? Like you got rid of WJ3 and Alexander for Chidobe and Mike Hilton. Is that a W?
Could be. I like William Jackson a lot, but I think with Mike Hilton and Trey Waynes coming in and Awuzie, I think it kind of covers. Mac Alexander was kind of mediocre, but I think they managed to cover that up pretty good.
Well, let's look at it this way. You had Trey Waynes regardless coming back this year. So you're looking at Trey Waynes, WJ3, and Alexander, or Trey Waynes, Chidobe, and Mike Hilton. Like, which is a better secondary? And, was whatever they decided to do with Chidobe and Mike, was that the right thing to do? Because either way, you got Trey Waynes.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, Mike Hilton ranks as one of the top slot corners in the league every year, so. You got Trey and
but William Jackson III was a good, I want to say, outside.
Yeah, that's fine. But you like I said, you still have Trey and Awuzie in the outside with Mike Hilton in the slot. They have Darius Phillips too. I think they still have Darius Phillips. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I think. So, okay. But, let me make one more point about this secondary. So, let's remember where Chidobe came from. The Cowboys. And they were absolutely god-awful on defense, and the secondary especially. So, I just don't know about Chidobe. I'm not sold on him really at all. I'm sold on Mike. I know what Mike can do. But Chidobe, that's my question for me. I don't know. Just knowing where he came from, what he did over there, and what that defense did last year, coming over here. That's all I have to ask, really.
Yeah. We'll have to find out.
Yeah. All right, and then we'll end it with a definite, we know this guy is good, and he's very underrated, and, is Jesse Bates a top safety? I think, who had him at, what, number 1? Was it PFF?
So PFF, we all love PFF around here. PFF ranked, Jesse Bates had the highest overall score on their website, but they ranked him going into into year 2021. They ranked him at 9th, and the reason they gave was because they think he's going to regress at the age of 25. So, I guess the question is that even accurate? Because why do they think he's going to regress? Because he plays for the Bengals? I'm confused. Because if you don't watch the Bengals, you don't see Jesse Bates every day, but Jesse Bates was popping off. He led the league in passes defended. What else if you're playing safety, what else do you want besides passes defended, honestly? Interceptions are nice too, but as long as you're stopping the pass from being caught, that's your job.
Right. True.
So,
well, it depends on what kind of safety they want you to be. Do they want you to be run support? Do they want you to be
he's covered
Adams
all the
type?
way. Nah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
He's straight up kind of like Minka and Marcus Williams and those guys. He is straight
we know
up
what he is,
covers.
but I guess it's more of a question of what does PFF rank? What did they use to rank their system? Do they?
Oh, they prefer the pass coverage 100%. Jamal Adams was 15 because he plays linebacker.
Right.
Yeah, they want your coverage to be up. They don't care if you fucking rush the passer.
Yeah. So it's just a question of the entire team has a lot of potential. They improved offensive line, very good receiving core.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow's coming back. But I think I don't remember what they were ranked as far as pass rush and quarterback pressures. But you got Trey Hendrickson, and then you got Osai, and then you got the secondary that we just talked about. So it's just okay, so obviously this team should be better than last year hypothetically.
You'd think so. You can't, with Joe Burrow is not only going to win 4 games, bro. There's no way. Yeah. There's no possible way that Joe Burrow with a top 10 receiving core wins only 4 games. That's got to be a 7 or 8 win team.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this team could very well, you know, I don't want to say lead the division, but I do definitely think they could take the Steelers. I think they could
The
either sweep
Bengals,
the Steelers or, at least be higher than them in the division rankings.
what the Bengals are now is irritating for all you AFC North fans because they've been an easy beatdown win for the last like decade.
Yeah.
Not really, but like the last 5 years, ever since the Andy Dalton thing flopped.
Yeah.
So now it's just like, God damn it. Now we have to try. We have to wake up for the Bengals now.
Yeah, we got to try it.
And sucks for you guys because that's going to be miserable.
No, I mean,
Defending the Bengals will be miserable because, by the way, they have Joe Mixon.
yeah.
Like it's they can run if they want to. They just don't because Zach Taylor's not the best coach in the world. But hey, maybe he'll turn a new leaf this season. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if we're just kind of zooming out on this entire division here, like this division is very tough. Very, very competitive.
It's hard to find. Like it's very possible that all these teams are over 500.
I mean,
Now, the only reason I would go against that is because they all have like a top 8 toughest schedule in the NFL. So
pretty sure this division was the only division last year that had 3 of the teams in the playoffs. So,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
The records are all going to be. This division is going to be up for grabs in the last week of the season, basically, because you all have to play each other twice, and you have, like I said, every team on here has a top 10 toughest schedule in the NFL.
Yep.
So, I mean, you might win this just based on the difficulty of the schedule. You might win this division at like 10-6, or excuse me, 11-6.
Yep.
People might be like, "Oh, 11-6 is so bad." Like, no, not with the schedule you guys have.